Hi guys, it's Arielle. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. It's officially been 3 months since Jean and I moved in together, and I thought it'd be fun to do a video sort of reviewing the first 3 months living with my boyfriend. The way that this video idea came to be is that I was scrolling TikTok probably before we moved in together, and I just kept seeing so many videos of people warning other young women about moving in with their significant other. And a lot of them were saying just wait until you're married for a bunch of reasons, like, you lose the excitement of the relationship, you end up having to take care of your boyfriend and do a lot of like domestic chores, or you start having to do shared things like bills and grocery shopping, and it kind of ruins the fun of the relationship. And I can't remember all of the topics that were discussed in these TikToks, but it kind of like made me stop and think for a second, am I making the right choice moving with Jean? Especially because we chose to move in together pretty quickly. I think we were maybe dating for 6 months when we made the decision to move in together. And ultimately the decision to move in together so fast was based on a lot of things. Like obviously we wanted to move in together, but as you guys would maybe know if you followed my series where I got super sick in my apartment, I had to move from my apartment for health reasons. And Jean was living in an apartment that was kind of small and pretty far out from the city of Paris. And he'd been there for 3 or 4 years and he was ready for a change. So we both kind of found ourselves in this space of, looking at apartments and both needing and wanting to move. And actually we started just looking at apartments together for Jean. Like I just came for the fun and to give him my opinion and stuff. And as we were looking at these apartments, we realized that for the price range that one single person could afford, like, between 800 and 1,000 euros, you really weren't getting that great of an apartment. And if you combined the rent of 2 people, you get something way better. So eventually, as you guys know, we decided to move in together. And I have to say, I think that it was the best decision that we could have made. I know that it's the best decision that I could have made, and I kind of want to talk about that and about why I'm so happy we decided to move in together. Before I get into the reasons, of course, I want to say, like, we both very much care about each other. We love each other. We are very happy together, and that's a huge part of why we moved in. But there are additional benefits of moving in with your partner. I think for me personally, one of the best aspects of moving in together was that it reaffirmed to me that Jean is someone that I want to spend the rest of my life with. When you're dating someone without moving in, you get to know a person, but you don't really get to know a person on a deeper level, in that you see their daily habits, you see how they act around the house, and I think that gives you insight as to what the rest of your life will be if you get married and move in and all that. And I think for a lot of women, a lot of young women, a big concern for moving in with your partner is that you don't want to be a mom. You don't want to have to take care of your boyfriend in the way that you would take care of a child. There is kind of a fear, and maybe it's a stereotype, we see it all over social media, but the boyfriend and the girlfriend who live together, and the boyfriend who leaves his clothes lying around the floor, and the apartment's always dirty, and he never does the laundry, and he doesn't cook, and he doesn't clean, and he doesn't plan date night, and everything, all of those domestic and those mental and emotional chores fall onto the girlfriend all of a sudden when you move in. And admittedly, that was my fear as well. Like, it's always a worry that your partner might not be up to the standard that you want. What I mean is that if you're someone who likes a place that's very clean, or if you're someone who likes to meal prep, or that's important to you and it's not important to your partner, you're kind of worried that you'll have to pick up the slack and that you'll be meal prepping for 2 people and you'll be cleaning for 2 people. And I'm not saying that Jean gave off that concern for me in any way, but it definitely was something in the back of my mind. And what I mean by the fact that moving in together reaffirmed my feeling that Jean would be my life partner is that I was shocked by how much care he put into our relationship, into our home. I don't want to say shocked because, like, I don't think it should be shocking that men contribute as much, if not more, to domestic tasks around the home. But it was something that made me realize that he was a really good partner. I'll share maybe one story in particular that crystallized this for me. We recently had my sister who was staying with us in Paris, and she was staying with us for, I want to say, a total of 7 days, something like that. And so right off the bat, Jean had no problems with her staying with us, even though the apartment is a little bit cramped for 3 people, but he knew it was important to me and important to my sister that we spend the time together, that we live together. So like that wasn't even a question in his mind. But at the very end of her trip, I was kind of getting a little bit overwhelmed by the mess that we had all created. And I don't mean Jean, like Jean did not have to create the mess, but 2 women, 3 people living in an apartment, it just does get a little bit messy. Like my sister is living here in her suitcase and she doesn't have a wardrobe to put her clothes and organize things like she would back home. So I did just get a little bit overwhelmed, and I felt like we were losing a sense of organization in our apartment. And I told him this, like, I want to say at midnight one night, and I was like, I'm feeling really overwhelmed. And the next morning we wake up and my sister and I are getting ready and I'm making coffee and stuff. And the first thing that Jean did is he got up and he put the pullout couch back, like he reset the pullout couch, he folded the sheets, he got at the vacuum, he started vacuuming, and it was just his way of showing me that he listened to me and he hears that I'm feeling really overwhelmed, and that he, without having to be asked, without being nagged, he was gonna get up and help me manage this. And not even just help me, but do it for me in a sense. Like that trip really was about me and my sister spending time together. And so by him taking off that burden of cleaning up or fixing things up, I really appreciated that. And it was funny because a few weeks later, we went back home to Fura and we saw Jean's friends. And one of them was trying to tease me like, oh, I'm going to come visit you guys in Paris and you're going to have to sleep on the couch and Jean and I are going to share the bed. And I'm like, please, like I would love that. I would love that you and Jean spend some quality time together. Like, no problem. I will sleep on the couch for as long as you want. And I think that he was shocked that I was like so on board with them having like a boys' weekend and me letting them cuddle in their bed. And I think it's just a testament to how both Jean and I want to go out of our way to help each other and make sure that we're having great experiences and that we're feeling good and comfortable and happy. And yeah, so that was maybe the first thing that came to my mind when I was making this list of my review, is that the way that Jean cares for the apartment, for me, for our relationship, it really does affirm that he is someone that I would be so lucky to have be my partner in life. Kind of in a similar vein is that as we're living together, I've realized that we not only have the same habits, but we also have very similar interests, which I think long-term is gonna make for a successful couple, a successful family. And I'll give you guys a quick example, but one thing that comes to the top of my mind is that neither one of us like to sleep in. So what this means is that Monday to Friday, even the weekend, we will get up maybe around 7:30, 8:30 if we really want to sleep in, and we'll get up together and we will start our day. And specifically I'm thinking of Saturday, because on Saturdays what we do is we get up early, we have our breakfast, we spend a little time together, then we make our grocery list, we make our list of meals that we want to make, because Saturday we do our batch cooking. And once we have these lists done, then we head to the grocery store and we do our full week grocery shop, which is huge. Like we have our big camping backpacks that we take with us. And then the rest of the day on Saturday, we spend it cooking and preparing our food for the rest of the week to make it easier for us to eat properly and healthily throughout the week. And just imagine if Jean or I, like if one of us really loved sleeping in on the weekends, or didn't really care about meal prepping, or didn't really want to eat healthy things. That would just automatically create conflict. And I'm saying this because I know from experience, one of my exes, like a very long-term relationship that I had previously, he was big on sleeping in. He was big on partying, and sleeping in. And the problem this created is that he would go out and party on Friday evening and he would want to sleep in until like noon on Saturday. And I was up at 8 and I'm like, let's go to the market, let's get our groceries, let's have a nice lunch together. And he'd be like, no, let me sleep. And there's no problem with wanting to sleep in or whatever. It's just that when you both have similar habits that complement each other, I think it makes the living experience more enjoyable and more long-lasting. I think as well, we're both very much yes people. We're kind of like, we're up for anything, and we're especially up for anything if it makes our partner happy. And another simple example is like one evening, Jean got home from work and we had already had our dinner prepared and everything, so we didn't have to cook. And I was like, why don't we go play pétanque after dinner at like 9 p.m. because, you know, it was in the summer and the sun didn't really set. And he was like, yeah, that's a great idea. And it's like, this is just one example. This is like a daily thing. We could each throw ideas and activities at each other and we'd be like, yeah, let's do it. And not only does that mean that you guys are getting to spend extra quality time together and have some fun, but it also means that when you say yes to an activity that your partner suggests, you're also, in a sense, making them super happy that they get to do something fun. And it's not like it's a burden to you to do this activity because you're happy to do it as well, but like it's an extra that it makes your partner feel so good. And I love that about John. Like, I will suggest so many things and he's like, yeah, let's do it, no problem. Like meal prepping, like batch cooking, it's not something that Jean was ever into. It's not something that he did himself, and I'm pretty into it. Like, I really like having the ease of not cooking throughout the week. And he was like, great idea, you want to do groceries at 10 a.m. Saturday morning? Absolutely. Like, it just, we're both so on board for everything. Even, oh my god, like last week we went back home to see Jean's family. He was like, you want to go see my family? I'm like, yes. He's like, you want to enter a volleyball tournament? I'm like, 1,000%. I don't know if I'm explaining this properly, but it's not just that we're spending this quality time together. It's that we're affirming each other's interests and passions, and we are taking the time to do those activities with each other to, show that we're interested and we're happy to participate in each other's interests and passions and all that. Another really big pro of moving in together is that it has made our lives significantly easier in every single aspect. And I think that in today's day and age, life is hard. There is a cost of living crisis. There is insane inflation. It's just really hard to make ends meet in a lot of ways as a single person. And so when you are working as a team, it just makes life so much easier. So obviously financially things are easier, like we're splitting bills and we're saving together, but also even when it comes to rent, like that's a really big one. Separately, we both had much smaller and dingier apartments than we do now. We love our apartment, but we're paying less rent individually for this apartment than we were prior to having moved in together. The rent for this is $1,500, so that's about $750 each. And before, I was paying close to $900, and Jean was paying about $800. So we're both saving money now that we've moved in together on our rent. And not just financially, but also time-wise, it makes things so much easier because we work as a team. If we can help each other out in any way, we're going to. A great example of this is that I recently had a couple packages that I had to pick up. I had some documents that I had to print. So instead of me going out and going to pick up those packages and going to the print shop and getting my documents printed, Jean's like, well, on the way home from work, I'm gonna pass that store and I can get off the metro a couple stations early and go to the print shop as well on my way home. And it's like, it seems like something so small, but it's such a huge time saver for me because I don't have to go there and back a bunch of times. And something else that comes to mind is that a few days ago, Jean sort of had this tummy ache and he wasn't feeling so good after dinner. So I'm like, go lie down, go sit on the balcony, lie down, get some fresh air. I'm gonna clean, I'm gonna do the dishes, and I'm gonna make you a nice hot tea. And it's like, removing the burden of doing that from Jean is so small. Like, it's really not a big deal that I do the dishes, but it helps him. It gives him the chance to relax, gives him a chance to, decompress, and it makes the tummy ache go away. So it's just small things like that where we are consistently trying to help each other. It really does just make life a lot easier. Literally everything that I can think of is just so much easier now that we're doing it together. Decorating our apartment. I don't know, you guys might have seen the series that we're doing. Picking up the furniture, drilling the holes. Like, all of that is so much easier to do together. Or when we do our meal prep on Saturdays, it's so much easier and even more fun to go do the grocery shopping together, to plan the recipes, to cook, to do the dishes. Like, everything is easier when you do it together. And that's what I've realized living with Jean, and it just reaffirms that this was such a good decision for us. Now, just as with anything in life, nothing is perfect. Nothing is going to be 100% positive. So there are a couple cons that I found living with another partner, not specifically to Jean, but just, in terms of merging your lives together and merging your physical lives together, like living together and no longer having your own alone space. So the first con that I could kind of think of is that you do have less alone time. You spend your day at work and you come home and you're not alone. You're coming home to your partner. So it's not like before when I was single. I was coming home, I was filming my YouTube, I was decorating my apartment, I was going out and seeing my friends. And you have a lot more time by yourself that you get to fill with your passions and projects and crafts and friends. And that time does get reduced when you're living with another person, just because not only do you want to make time for this other person in your life, but you're just forced in a sense to see them. Like, you come home and you're not coming home to an empty space, you're coming home to a space that you share together. And I think that for me, this is maybe, it's not an issue, but the reason that this sort of came to mind is that I do film YouTube videos, right? And to film a YouTube video when I don't have a designated office space means that I have to be in an apartment that is pretty quiet, and I can't have people like walking back and forth in the back. So what that means is that I have to film when Jean isn't in the house, which isn't a problem, but it's just an extra consideration that I have to make. And it maybe does, in a sense, reduce the times when I can film. I don't know if that makes sense. It's not at all that Jean is against the filming or he doesn't want to participate in videos, but a video like this, for example, when I'm just talking about something that I want to talk about, I want to do it alone. I don't want to do it with distractions and noise and all that. So that was maybe one con I could think of. And then a second con is that I really realized that once you move in with someone, you do tend to spend a lot less time with other people and with your friends. And this always baffled me because as a single girl, I was just like, anytime one of my girlfriends got into a relationship, it was like the friends no longer became their priority and their partner was like the be all end all at the top, so high on the priority list, like we were the peasants at the bottom. And this always frustrated me. And so even when I'm in relationships, like I really do take care not to do this. My friends are extremely important to me, but nevertheless, I still did find that I didn't have as much time as I used to see as many friends as I did. And I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing, because what it means is that now instead of focusing on a whole bunch of different friends, some less meaningful or deep, like friends who you're not necessarily super close with, but will go for a drink with or go to dinner with and all that, I tend to do that a lot less because I have Jean. It's not like he's telling me don't go out, but I would just prefer to spend that time with Jean, someone who I do have a meaningful relationship with, as opposed to someone where it's just not as profound of a relationship. And I was trying to think of why I do this, because before I really did used to surround myself with friends and friends and friends. Like I was always surrounded by people because I am a very social person. And I think it comes down to the fact that you do feel a little bit guilty when you ask people to do things that you want to do. So for example, when I was like, hey Jean, you want to go play pétanque after dinner? And he's like, yes, I do. I know that he's being genuine. I know that I'm not being irritating by asking him to go and play pétanque with me. Like, I know that his excitement to do this with me is genuine. Whereas with friends where you're not as connected, you don't know if they are really interested in doing the activity you're suggesting. Like, maybe it's just me, maybe I just feel self-conscious, but there is an element of guilt or of concern in the back of your head where it's like, am I a burden to these people? Like, am I annoying these people? Do they really want to do this with me? And so now I find myself, when I want to do something, I typically tend to ask Jean as opposed to my friends because I know I'm not going to irritate Jean. Like, an example that really comes to mind is a couple weeks ago, I asked Jean if he wanted to test out a cafe with me. And I wanted to also do a little bit of filming at this cafe because I eventually want to review it in a YouTube video. And so it's like, I don't want to go with someone who's going to be irritated that I might have my phone out really quick to film something, or that I want to bike to the cafe because I don't really take the metro. And so I don't want to inconvenience people or be a burden to people. And I just know that that's not going to be the case with Jean. So yeah, I feel like this is just like derailed, but all that to say, I think that when you move in with someone, you really do find that you have less time for not friends, because I still have time for my friends, but friends who are sort of like extended friends, who weren't really like your main best friends, but who were just sort of, I want to say filler in a sense, where you both might be single and you wanted to go have a drink or go out to a restaurant and spend some time with someone. Like, I think I did prior to Jean have those kind of friendships, and being with Jean has really made me realize that my time is valuable and that I want to spend it with people who care about me and who I care about and all that. And I do. I've got Jean, I've got my best friends, I've got my really good friends in Paris. Like, that is where I focus my time. I just have realized that I have cut down the time I spend with other people, if that makes sense. I don't know if any of this is making sense, to be honest. I think ultimately the main point of making this video is to have content out there that is sort of like pro moving in with your partner. Like I said, when I was first trying to make the decision, I say I, but obviously Jean was making the decision on his end as well. But when I was first thinking about whether or not moving in was the right decision for me, I did come across a lot of content that was like, no, bad idea, wait till you're married, na na na. And it kind of made me like take a step back and be like, is this the right decision? And so I want to make this video to be like, yes, for me, it was the best decision ever. And so if you yourself are finding yourself in a position where you have to decide whether or not you should move in, or even if you want to look back and evaluate how things are going with the person you've chosen to move in with, I just think it's nice to have someone else's perspective to listen to. And like I said, it just was the best decision that I could have made, and I'm so happy with how things are going. And the biggest takeaway for me from moving in with Jean is that it really, really has reaffirmed that he is the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. And what more could you ask for, you know? Like, it just given me a lot of clarity. So yeah, I hope this video wasn't too mushy. I hope it wasn't too deep. I thought I just wanted to share this experience with you guys. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you guys let me know what you think down below in the comments. Maybe share your experiences if you want, or your thoughts on this topic. I would love to read them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next one.